golden skate, and I'm very, very happy to be here today with Jason Brown, two-time Olympian. Jason, thank you for taking time. How are you right now?
I'm great. It's so great to talk to you. Go technology. I love this. We can be in totally different parts of the world and connect, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. You have been a very busy man this year already. You've been to the US Championships, you have been to Switzerland for Earth and Ice, and now I think you've been to vacation recently, also a little bit. How's this year been for you yet?
Yeah, you know what? It's been great. I think for me this year, I've been really trying to take advantage of a bunch of different opportunities. Um, as we all know, COVID was so difficult and such a strange time with really 2 years where we couldn't travel and it was so difficult to get around. And so to and on top of that, the stress of just getting to the Olympics, and trying
Yeah.
to be there and be healthy and everything that kind of went into that. So when that was over, I kind of was it was a big kind of weight off my shoulders, and I really wanted to take this year to just explore and to see what really fueled me. And I took a little bit of a break from the mental side of kind of wrapping my brain around competing. And so
Yeah.
I took the fall season off, but little by little, I got that itch again to compete. So it's been really fun to kind of start doing that again. But I have been loving doing the shows. And like you mentioned, I did take a little bit of a vacation. It's really important to take some R&R, some rest and recovery, because when it is such a grind, the even just the show schedule and the competition schedule and the training, and everything that goes into it, it's really, really necessary to take a break every so often and give yourself a chance to reset, to refuel, and go back to training kind of energized for more.
Yeah. So you touched on a lot of things already. So after the Olympics last year, you decided to take a little time off. You mentioned already, and you focused a bit on other things. One thing
Mhm.
was choreography, right? You did
Yeah.
choreography. Maybe you can talk about that a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, actually, when I was at the Olympics, Daniel Grassel came up to me and said, "Would you have any interest in choreographing a program for me next year?" And I said, "Absolutely. Like whatever you need. Here's my contact information, and if the timing works out, and if it's something you still want to do in a few months, because obviously he is still had Worlds coming up, so there was more of the season. So I was like, if this is still in the kind of in the cards for you, and it's something you'd like, I would love to." And he reached out. So he reached out, and so we made it happen. So it was just so much fun. I loved working with him. It's been a real joy getting to do that and seeing the sport from that perspective as well. Now, kind of watching, when Daniel competes, like seeing it from a kind of a choreographical standpoint, and just even after he competes, talking about what I would change and the different things that oh, I noticed this. And I so understand what it's like from his perspective because I'm still in that
Yes.
realm of competing. So I know what it's like as the skater competing. And I know now a little bit of what goes into the choreography side of it as a coach. So it was really cool getting to see both sides. And I feel like it makes me a better skater and a better choreographer at the same time. So that's been really cool and a great experience. And I hope I get the chance to do some more.
I'm sure many skaters will reach out to you. You did not only one short program, but even two, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I did two short programs for Daniel. So I truly I loved working with him on both of them. So hopefully he enjoyed the same.
This what I experienced. What he said. I think he enjoyed it very much.
Oh.
So, you also have been after that. I saw you at Skate America, but not as a skater. But you were on the media team, so you had my job, and you interviewed the Team USA skaters. So, how was that? How did this come along?
Oh, it was so much fun. I loved it. I Team USA reached out to me and said, "Would you kind of be our correspondent for social medias and do interviews with the Team USA athletes for Instagram and Twitter?" And I was like, yeah, 100%. I would love it. And I had the best time. I loved interviewing them. Just like what we just talked about choreographing and working with Daniel, I think it was so cool to get to now see kind of work on the media side of things and see what that's like at a competition. So often as skaters, we just, we see what goes into, I don't even want to say we see what goes into anything, but we see you guys in the mix zone. And that's really our only connect, like what we see, or we see, in the press conference. But to really understand like the thought process that goes into the questions and into preparing everything. I think something that I was what I now like have such an appreciation for the media that I didn't really grasp as an athlete was just how much preparation you can put into something, and then just the timing not work out, and the athlete, you can't see the athlete, or the scheduling conflicts happen, and it's like I just like spent hours preparing all these questions and thinking things through, and then they don't show up, which I totally get from the athlete side of it. And I also now understand like, wow, like what, the kind of, you just have to work on the fly and be very adaptable also in the media side of things, because you don't know what's going to happen or when the athlete's going to come through, or how, all the, obviously you don't, in any situation, you don't ever know how the results are going to turn out, but depending on that depends on the flow of mix zone. So it was really, really fascinating to see it from your perspective. And I loved being a part of it. And it made me, even now, I think as a competitor still in the sport, I have an even greater appreciation for the media and want to keep making sure I make time for them, because I know what goes into it. And, also just, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to tell our stories. And so it's definitely a mutual respect for both, and it was cool to do both as well.
I think you did a really good job there, and
Thank
hopefully we'll see you
you.
there again in this. And
I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah. So at some point then you decided, I mean, you just mentioned it, you want to compete again. Like,
Yeah.
when did this decision, when did you make this decision?
Yeah, so I really made the decision at the end of October. So that's really when I like kind of sent the email saying I will, giving my intent of like I will compete at the US Championships. The deadline for we in the US we have like sectionals, which after sectionals you qualify for nationals. And so after sectionals was happening, I knew that the nationals list was going to come out, and with all the buys, and because of my placement at the US Championships the year before, I knew I would have a buy. But if I withdrew, then someone else would get the spot. And so I wanted to be very upfront. Like, I didn't want to be like, oh, he's on the buy list, but is he competing or is he not? Like, will he compete? So I wanted to make it very clear that I was going to compete. And so then at that point, I kind of stated that intention, but I never really closed the door on competing. At first, I think for me, it was, I just like couldn't go into the Olympics knowing it was my last event. It kind of, I don't want to say it scared me, but I didn't want to add that pressure. And I think there were so many other factors that I was like, I just wasn't ready to quite close that chapter and quite say goodbye. So I kept it open, did a lot of shows, loved the shows, loved being out performing. I was invited to do Japan Open. And so I had to create a long program for that. And so I was like, I'm doing it. I trained for that, did it. And I looked at Tracy and I was like, my coach, and I was like, yeah, I really like this. I was like, I'm really enjoying this. And she was like,
why stop?
Okay. Exactly. So, I had a bunch of other commitments that I was really excited about, show wise or media wise or different things. And I really wanted to do them. And so, I looked at her and I said, do you think I could balance them both? And she basically said, well, why not try? Like, why not, give it a go? So that's what I've been doing this year. That's what I've been exploring. And it's been so fulfilling, so much fun, and I really, really, I've been enjoying it, and enjoying all the different facets of it, and I think that's been one of the coolest things for me this year.
Are you feeling a little bit more relaxed right now, like after the Olympic pressure? Like the pressure is a little bit off? Or
I compare, yeah, what 100%. I think I've had a lot of experience in the sport. Nothing I do not think will compare to such a lead up to an Olympics and an Olympics. I think yes, when you say, do I feel much more relaxed? 100%. Am I still nervous? Do I still get stressed? Do I still feel pressure? 100%. But like, if that's like here, last year it was like, maybe you can't even see it on the screen. It was like way above. So I feel like there's a lot of, I feel a mix of kind of confident and proud of like, after going through that experience, knowing that I can get through the experiences or the feelings or the emotions that I'm, going through now, as I compete.
Yeah. So what are your goals for Worlds? Like, do you have, and how is your...
Yeah, so I don't know, like it's so funny. So it will be my first international event of the year. And so so often by the time you get to Worlds, you're like, okay, these are the scores that I'm putting out. This is what I'm, aiming to. This is you're able to kind of set goals based on, your past experiences. And so like, I know like the scoring system changed a little bit. So it's like, I can't really judge last year's scores on this year's with the new component rules and the way that, some of the elements the spins are just like, some things are different. So I think for me, I have a hard time. Typically, I'm like, oh, I want to, get between this and this range, and this would be a personal best. And this year, I'm like, I really, I obviously, as always, I want to skate 2 clean programs. That is the goal. But I think for me, I'm trying to take my nationals performances and taking what I learned from them and kind of making subtle adjustments to increase the difficulty and change some things around. And so I think my goal, I guess, is just to kind of take the programs I did at nationals and elevate them. Because I don't have the opportunity to say, oh, based on my track record this season, I'm looking at all these things. So I think for me, that's really the goal. I haven't competed against anyone this year internationally. So in terms of, placement or that, I really haven't thought of, but, obviously I'm a competitive person. I always want to do very well. I want to place the best possible placement I can get. I want to score the highest I can. Yeah, but I think in terms of goals, I guess it's just taking the programs I did at nationals and kind of show the improvement and show the elevation since then, so that people can see what I've worked
progress.
On.
Yeah.
Yeah, the progress, exactly.
So we have collected some questions from fans on the Golden Skate fan forum.
Okay.
So I will continue with these. Some we'll start with the skating related ones, and then they have some off skating relation.
Okay, I love it.
First one, like, continues what we just talked about. So are you planning to compete at the World Team Trophy?
If I have the opportunity, I would love to. So World Team Trophy, for at least with Team USA, I don't know how it works with all the countries. We don't find out until after Worlds. So we don't get assigned until like a few days after the World Championships ends. So if they call me and say, Jason, will you compete at World Team Trophy? I would love to. I will not complain. That's one of my favorite events.
I guess your odds are very good. So we'll see. Hopefully see you there.
My fingers are crossed.
Yeah. So of course the fans also want to know what's next. Are you planning to compete next season? Are you planning to compete at the Grand Prix?
It's a great question. Full honesty. At this moment, if you were to ask me, I would love to compete another year. That is still, I I don't want to say I'm shocked, but I'm still so amazed that I have that drive. Like I still am like, even training for Worlds, I'm like, oh, like it doesn't feel like the end too. Like it's like I don't know what that season's gonna look like next year. So I don't want to, I'm not saying, I think that's still up in the air. I don't know if it's like, maybe another year where it's like I take the fall off and I compete. I don't know if it's gonna be a mix of a little bit, but so I don't know what it's gonna look like. Or do a full season. I don't know. But I do still have the itch. And I still like
compete right now.
Yeah. So that's still going on. Obviously, we'll see how the rest of the season progresses. Not as depending on how the results go will make a difference, but just as I continue to do more, perform more, compete more, where my head's at. But if you were to ask me today, which you are, yes, I would love to continue a little bit more.
Okay. Awesome. That's what everyone wants to hear. But we get it. It's not a
problem. But I don't know for sure. I don't want to like.
Exactly. It's all clear. Okay. It's not a promise. It's just the momentum right now. Yeah. It's all clear. So next question following up to that is, would you keep your programs for another season as you haven't performed them that much, or would you like to get new ones?
That's a great question. That's so interesting that you asked that, or that the fan asked that. I've always thought, like mentally in my head, I've always been like, oh, what programs am I going to do next? So I haven't really taken the time to put that thought into reality. Like I've always just mentally, I'm wrapped around doing 2 new programs. In terms of in my head, I'm always like, oh, next year, what programs will I do versus, oh, will I keep these? For me, I do think, it's interesting. I choreographed my short program this year in 2020. And this Impossible Dream I choreographed, I guess, a year ago. So it is interesting that in some ways, I feel like I've had them for a bit, but it is true. I haven't really competed them much. So it's a good question. And I think it will definitely be something I'll discuss with my coaches and choreographers. But I guess similar to like last question, like if you were asking me today, what my answer would be, today would be I would do 2 new programs. But that being said, it's
not decided.
I haven't given it too much thought, as much as it's like in my head, of course I'll do 2 new programs. Like, I don't know. But
then all the work comes and
exactly. And then you like actually wait, maybe you're right. Like I only have competed these twice. Maybe it is good to do more. So we'll see.
Okay, good. And well, they of course also want to know, do you still train the quads? Or you did?
Do you know what? It's a great question. This year, no. This year, I kind of took the year to get healthy and get strong again. I think, I don't talk a lot about injuries and the behind the scenes stuff, because when we compete, it's like you put your best foot forward. I'm here. I'm going to do the best I can, and you do it. But I kind of needed to take a year to kind of get healthy and get my body healthy, where I wasn't kind of pounding away. And so I did want to give myself a little bit of that break. That being said, the goal is obviously that I take the time to kind of get strong again and build back up, and so that I can start training the quads again. So the goal is definitely to integrate that back in and to train that up. With that being said, this year we really took the time to I focused kind of on that physical health, and just kind of re-solidifying the base and kind of, I don't say cleaning up old injuries, but like making sure they all had time to heal, where I wasn't forcing myself to kind of train something before I was physically ready. Where so often and I think that was a big reason why I didn't do the entire season this year as well, was like it, until it's so interesting. The competition season, I know we get in such a habit of competing, so you don't think about it, but it is a pretty grueling training regimen type of a season where you're trying to constantly peak at all these events along the way. And so I think that it was really good to kind of take the time off to recover. And even though I was doing shows and training in other ways, you're giving your body still the break of, you know, all the rules that you're following, the amount of jumps that you're doing every day, the amount of training, the amount of, you know, what it takes to train the quads and work on those elements. And, you know, even my programs, you know, this season I haven't, it's not like I've been training them from, you know, every single day from, you know, the summer till now. It's been, you know, I've been training them from the summer till now, but intermittently with different breaks, and they've evolved and changed, but the intensity and the wear and tear on the body isn't as difficult
as
and
intense,
hard.
not as hard for the body. So yeah, of course. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so next question is, what advice would you give to young skaters, or like what advice do you give to young skaters that look up to you, because many as a role model?
No. You know what I would say, you know, I think what's so beautiful about our sport is that, like, every single person that stepped onto the ice brings something so unique and something so special. And yes, I understand that we're all competing against each other, and we're all, you know, you have the points and you're trying to be the best, and we're all very competitive, which I think is great, and bring that competitive mindset to the table. But also don't let yourself neglect or forget how special and unique what you bring to the sport is. You know, I think so often we're just constantly comparing ourselves to others and being like, well, they can do this and they can land this jump, and how can they land this jump and I can't figure it out, and what is this? And you know, I think for me it's like you constantly place your value or your worth based on other people, or based on the system, or based on results. And I think it's like, you know, I think what's so beautiful is like kind of owning the fact that like no one can skate like you. You know, everyone is going to do something different, and just knowing how much more beautiful you make the sport by bringing what you do to the table and to the ice. And so I think like if people can kind of keep seeing that and follow that passion and follow that love, and bring their own kind of artistic spin to the sport, and even technical spin. I think so many people, you know, you can admire what they do technically. And I think if you can keep pushing the sport in your own unique way, and, you know, bringing your whole self to your performances, I just want to commend you and celebrate you, and I just wish you all the best. But I think that's what I would tell younger skaters, because I think it's so easy to get discouraged, and I've struggled with that immensely throughout my career, constantly feeling discouraged and not worthy, and not like not knowing if there's a spot for me in this sport. And I think there is room for everyone, and I think there's room for everyone to push it, and there's room for everyone to bring something unique. And I just want all the kids, you know, growing up to never forget that.
Next one is, are you still in contact with your old coach, Kori?
So a little bit. So obviously when we were together, I was seeing, you know, you see your coach every single day. So we don't have that type of a relationship right now, but you know, she texts me before all my competitions, wishing me good luck. You know, we write each other on our birthdays, and you know, wishing well. I always, you know, hope that our kids are doing well, or anytime I'm in the area. I mean, she lives in Nashville, so I've been in Canada, so we don't cross paths that often, but when we do, you know, always talk, always pick up where we left off. But yeah, so the relationship is just different, but no,
on very
nothing but
good
love
terms,
for her.
it seems. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Okay, now we're going off skating. Like, I think nothing has to do with skating anymore. So, is there any place you haven't traveled to, either for competition or vacation, that you still would want to visit on your bucket list?
Yes, Can I say places?
Of
There's
course.
so many, but on the top right now, the top five places that I haven't been. I really want to go to Bali in Indonesia. I would love to visit. I want to go to Thailand. I would love to visit Thailand. I've never been to Prague.
Oh, yeah.
Love to go to Prague. And
Very
then
beautiful.
I've never been to Spain or Greece.
Wow, I should give you advice on
So
all of these.
those are the 5 places right this second. Oh, okay, I lied. One more.
The sixth.
I would love South Africa. I planned a trip and I was supposed to go in end of March of 2020. And obviously that got canceled because of COVID.
Yes, of
But
course.
that was a trip that I planned. And so now it's like I mapped the whole thing out and like booked everything. And then I like, so you knew what you were like, not, I obviously you don't know until you get there, but I had an idea of what was all planned out and I didn't, obviously we didn't see it through. So those six places as of now.
Any concrete plans for any of them?
No, unfortunately not. I would love to at some point in the summer to knock one of them off. But in terms of like concrete, like have I scheduled it? No, but yes, in terms of like I definitely don't want this year to end without at least knocking one of them off.
Do you still want to teach in Japan? Next question.
Yes, I would. You know what? I would love to. It's definitely a dream of mine. I've always, it's funny. Growing up, I always wanted to be an elementary school teacher. So I always had that, like, I just like loved working with kids and I loved school. And so I really wanted to like, obviously blend the two. I wanted to be a teacher. That has evolved. And obviously in like where I am, in my life, obviously I can always go back to, and change my degree at school in college, or I can always go back to, and kind of fulfill that dream if I want. But I know like my life's kind of taken a different set of turns. And so, I do love to travel. I love Japan. I would, I think it's such a cool opportunity to blend the two, where it's, in that situation, it's typically more of a school year commitment. So it's not you're not dedicating your career or I'm not creating a career out of teaching, elementary school, but I like to have an opportunity to do that. I think that would be really cool. And so, yes, it's still a goal of mine. Whether or not it will happen, you know what? I have hopefully a long life ahead of me. So hopefully it will at some point. But no, I would love to teach English in Japan.
Amazing. So maybe how do you imagine your future in general after your competitive year? You have like
yeah, it's so interesting. I tried for a while to look at and map it out far. And I laugh because every time I set kind of some type of a plan or some type of thing, I'm shocked that I'm like, that's not where my head's at, or that's not where I'm like, I mean this sincerely. I am shocked that I'm competing this year. Like I think it was not in my head. I was not thinking about it. I know I said that, at the start of this interview, I know I said I couldn't wrap my brain around saying that the Olympics was the end because I couldn't like add that pressure to me, but I also didn't consider continuing. I didn't have that, mindset of, oh, but I'm going to then do another year, or, oh, I'm going to, these are the programs I want to do, or I had those aspirations. I felt really drained. I felt really done. I felt like, the lead up to the Olympics, I gave it everything I had. And I just was like, and so I think for me, I'm just shocked at the direction my life continues to take that way, and just to continue to follow kind of my heart and those passions. I love the shows. I would love to continue doing that for, if my body continues to hold up and I stay healthy, I'd love to continue doing that. If I have the opportunity and people ask me to do them, I would just love to continue doing that. I'm like we're talking about, I'm shocked that I'm still in that mindset of I kind of have more in me to compete, which I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. And so I think it's like kind of taking kind of things in stride. I'd love to kind of start blending a little bit more of what I'm doing. So like I did this year, where I kind of did a little bit of the media, I did the competing, I did the shows, and I think it just made me a better overall performer, and I grew a lot as a person. I don't really see myself going back into a very narrow mindset the way that I had been up, the last basically 22 years of my career. It's been very much of focus
Yes,
on,
yes.
these goals ahead. And so I don't see myself going back into that pattern. So I'd love to keep branching out as I grow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at now. So if I can continue to blend them and be in that process, I'd love to continue teaching, choreographing. I'd love to continue performing. I'd love to, do more media stuff, be on that side of things. So I know that's not the best of answers or as far as like clear answers, but I think my goal moving forward right now is to continue just branching out and then seeing what comes of it. Because every single time, I've been like, oh, this is what I want to do. I'm like, a year later, I'm like, I'm nowhere near that. Like, but not because I couldn't be, but because it was like, that wasn't where I,
Yeah, well, where life takes you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't where life took me. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I always think it's fascinating when a new year starts, then you look like 1 year back, like where have you been like a year ago? So
yes, absolutely.
It's amazing like how things change within a year. So, and you have so many opportunities. Great. Okay. Last fan question I have here is, are you still practicing the piano?
No. That's a great question. I grew up playing the piano and I loved it. But no, I don't have a piano where I live. But I played all throughout middle school and high school, I guess. And so once I left home and moved away after high school, I stopped kind of practicing the piano. But that's a great question. But that being said, not for whatever reason, but there is a huge connection, and I just absolutely love skating to piano pieces. I think growing up around it, and I don't know, there's something about the musicality and the timing that I just love skating to piano pieces.
And it's never too late to come back and start it.
Very true. Exactly. Never too late to continue.
Exactly. Okay, Jason, let's continue. Like finish this interview with this little this and that I prepared for you. I have like 5, I hope, funny this and that questions, and you have to decide. So are you a morning or an evening person?
Morning.
All right. So your alarm goes at like 7 a.m. and you jump out of bed and
Okay, you didn't say, are you a morning, afternoon, or evening, middle of the day or evening. I just said between evening and morning.
You're the morning person. I see, because I admire people.
I wouldn't say I'm
out of bed at
7 a.m. jump out of bed, no. But I am but I typically wake up earlier. Obviously, I guess anyone would say this, but I prefer waking up without an alarm. And typically that is on the earlier side. And I do enjoy that. So I like getting things done in the morning. I like being active in the morning, like like kind of boom, boom, boom. And then I like really having a nice, relaxing evening. But that also could be because of the 22 years of training. By the evening, you're like, I just want to go to bed and relax. So at this point of time, no, morning.
Would you skate to one piece of music for the rest of your life, or eat one kind of food for the rest of your life?
I would eat one kind of food for the rest of my life. And the only reason I say that too, I'm very consistent with my diet, just because it's just like when we're competing and we're traveling all over the world, it's just like to keep like things consistent. It's just like, for me, it makes me feel settled. And so I actually just like I literally eat the same things every single day. So I think I know I could do that. Where like I think I would go crazy if I skated to the same piece of music every single day.
So what would be that piece of food that you pick?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, okay, because now I have to pick my one thing. That is a good question. That's a good question.
Well,
I'm trying to think, what's sustainable? What's sustainable to eat? I mean, like I like every single day eat chia pudding. I think that sits well. I travel with it in little baggies when I compete because it's like a good kind of settling snack before I compete. Like I pack Like I mix, all the dried ingredients and then I just add water when I compete. So I mean, I guess I would say that. I guess I would say chia pudding.
Okay, good.
I probably would get sick of it, but
Of
I
course,
get
you
more
would get
sick
sick
of
of
seeing the one piece
everything,
of the
but
music.
and
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
you would never have to choose. So, okay, okay. I'm really looking forward for this one. If you were the coach, would you
Oh
prefer
my gosh.
to coach Brian or Tracy if they were the athletes?
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. I think Tracy. I would coach Tracy.
How would she be as a student? What do you think?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. But I do think, and not no offense to Brian, and I would say this to his face, but I think she would be easier to coach than him.
Fair, very fair.
But I think they'll both be great.
Yeah.
But I think that but it's a good question. I do have to say, it is funny though, if we are obviously it's all hypothetical. So I don't know why I'm going so deep. Tracy's the answer. I was about to say something like, well, Tracy does dance, so I don't really teach dance. But she did dance and she's teaching me singles, so
Okay, Tracy's the answer.
Tracy's the answer.
Okay, would you rather grow your hair long again as you had it, or shave your head bald?
When you say shave it, like bald, shave?
Bald.
Okay.
Or as long as mine.
I would have to say, I think I would have to I would have to grow it out. I have a fear of like losing my whole entire side of my dad. My dad bald, my mom's dad was bald. Like everyone's bald. So the fact that I still have hair, I'm just like embracing like the fact of like I just like please stay. So I would be too scared to shave it off and it not grow back that I'd rather grow it out and then I can cut it again.
Okay, good answer. I hope you will have beautiful hair for a long time to last.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, and the last one, would you rather like to travel to the past or the future?
Oh, wait, question. Is it my past or my future, or just like I can go like
let's
like
say
am I traveling
general. Like let's say in general.
in general? Do you know what? I think I'd be more curious to go to the past.
Yeah,
I feel like we learn so much about it. Like if it's not mine, if it was mine,
yeah.
I don't need to relive my
No, of
past.
course, yeah. No, like a certain
I
time.
probably, if it was mine, I'd probably like it would be cool to kind of see the future in some ways. But in terms of like in like life where I could travel, I think we learn so much about the past in school and growing up. And I think that like we hear stories from our grandparents or our parents about, so many different historical moments, or even just, in books. And I just think that watching documentaries, I just think it would be really cool to actually live that. And see what it was like and live it versus just constantly hearing about what it was like. I think that would be really cool to travel back.
Any specific time you have in mind? Like you want to see like ancient Greece or?
I think there's so many. No, honestly, I would just love to go travel back in time. I mean, even just like I would love to go back to kind of historical moments. Like you said, like I'd love to go back to ancient Greece, see, the, Italian ruins before they were ruins. Like I would love, that would be so cool. But I also would love to kind of, see what the US was like when it was kind of first founded. Like what was it, what was really going through their heads and what were the people actually like? And, you read about it. So, I mean, at least for us in American history. And I just think like to actually experience that versus just, and I don't want life to go back to the past. I'm just like, but I think to learn and to see it firsthand so you can understand that in a whole different light. But even like I would love to go back to it. Like even I guess it wasn't so long ago, but like, even when my parents were young, they didn't have cell phones. Yeah. Like I would just like I can't even comprehend a world where like you could travel and you had no way of reaching somebody, or like those, you know, things are so mind-blowing to me, and I can't wrap my brain around that. I would love to even go back, you know, just 30, 40, you know, 50 years of seeing like, oh, what was it like to grow up, you know, without cell phones?
Yeah.
You know, or what was it like, you know, traveling, you know, on planes 50, 60 years ago? You know, even hearing people talk about that sounds like a whole different experience. So
Awesome. Jason, thank you so much.
anytime. Oh my gosh, so great talking to you.